Hey, welcome in everybody. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Tarot and Astro Insights. And this is a very important message for the twin flames for the 1111 portal. And so I came into a massive download connected to the twin flames, and I was asked to share that with all of you. And so please feel free to subscribe, like the video, comment on the video, share the video, especially if you're resonating with the message. But this 1111 portal is the gateway of massive changes, and so we are progressing. And so I think the secret to these energies is to have zero expectations. And so by design, the twins came here to progress, and we can't exist in a vacuum. And so our entire spiritual journey is dependent on the interaction with people. And so life is a continuous cycle, right? We have a continuous cycle of experiences with all kinds of relationships, with beginnings, middles, and endings. And so this is the cross of consciousness, I feel, this 1111 portal. And so we're kind of in the gateway of change. I was shown the Nine of Wands card, and the energy it brought forward with this 1111 portal was humility. And so in order to be humbled, we do have to have the ability to accept rejection. And so the rejection part of the journey is what awakens the inner artist for the divine feminine. And the divine feminine needs to get to a place of acceptance of this rejection as part of this transformational process. And so this is all about acceptance of change, and rejection is part of the process. And so what I feel is kind of happening with this 1111 portal is the masculine's reaction to the feminine overcoming this rejection is really turning into a lot of self-destructive tendencies. I do feel there's almost like a loss or a sense of loss of self-worth connected to the divine masculine when it comes to this change. And now they're kind of on the flip side of the scales, experiencing this rejection as humiliation. And so I know I've been feeling this massive creative block, and you might have been feeling it too if you resonate as a divine feminine, but this creative block is all a part of the waiting for the energy to shift. And that's really key. And so for the last little bit, I've kind of been lacking some inspiration, which has kind of stopped my progress. And so I've been going through this massive attunement, and I kind of lost that connection with the muse energy of the divine masculine. And so creativity is energy, right? And we need to remember that energy ebbs and flows along with creativity. And so creativity and the muse will always come and go. And so I do feel the disconnect for me was a huge realization that the need to take action on the divine masculine's part is huge. And so they're kind of in this very mundane energy is what it felt like. They're needing to overcome these deep-seated feelings of emptiness. And so emptiness also is the path to spiritual enlightenment. So the path to spiritual enlightenment is not always easy. There's always going to be obstacles and challenges that need to be overcome. And I do feel there's this exploring of this resistance for the divine masculine, the resistance to tradition versus persevering through these challenges. And so there is a new collaboration, I feel, opening up for the twins. And so we kind of have to be blindly open to this change. And so this is about the greater good of the whole collective. And so I do feel the feminine could be coming into some type of benefactor, which will encourage her to expand her personal endeavors and to expand her communal process within the spiritual community. And the feminine is really here to bring a lot of these progressive changes into other people's lives. And so there's also this detriment surrounding the masculine. And this is part of the transformation where they need to realize they cannot always be the center of attention at the ignorance or the expense of other people. And so there really needs to be some type of progress when it comes to this gateway of change. And I do feel a lot of the masculines have been through a lot. And so there's this deep hunger, I feel, awakening for a lot of the divine masculine within the collective. This deep hunger, this deep desire for change, I feel, is a key theme in this 1111 portal energy. And so I do feel the connection or the pull energy that the feminine kind of has to transmute is becoming less severe. I don't know. I've been feeling super detached. I don't know if it's the phases of the moon But in the beginning of the journey, we're kind of driven by this obsessive tendency of chasing, and that kind of fades, kind of like the moon, right? Kind of fades and goes through its phases. And so the feminine has gone through this change, and we've kind of learned the lessons, and that usually comes with age as well. And so this is a huge, I feel, realization of the abusive position that the masculine has accumulated. And so there's going to be inevitable retribution when it comes to the unfair deprivation towards the divine feminine. And so ultimately, a lot of the divine masculines, they will step on other people's toes to get where they want to be. And it will eventually lead to recrimination. And so altruism really is about the greater good. That's key, right? Altruism is key for the greater good. And so we do have to make a certain type of sacrifice in our personal life in order to go towards this communal progress. And so it's all about the principles and interaction in a harmonious, communicative way. And so a lot of the feminines have learned to communicate their journey, learned to communicate their knowledge for the benefit of the whole. And with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, this is putting a lot of the divine masculine collective in their detriment. And so with Jupiter in detriment in retrograde in Gemini, this is really bringing forward this deep sense of personal regret, is what it felt like, connected to the masculine, in order for him to go through this greater personal expansion, which I feel has been lost along the way in that karmic cycle. And so progressive communication, I do feel the masculine is coming to terms with what it is that needs to be sacrificed if he is to go forward and have any type of commitment or union with the divine feminine. And so this really is about rectification, course correction with this 1111 portal, and the energy to correct these past mistakes. And so the feminine is kind of coming to this completion, I feel, of this crystallization of the DNA structure upgrade. And it's coupled with this ambitious energy to keep going forward. And so the feminine is in a portal of progressive change, which is the result of the masculine needing to course correct. And so there is a very destructive tendency, I feel, surrounding the divine masculine. And I just feel they're going to keep being met with resistance that's going to keep reinforcing these destructive tendencies if they don't rectify this situation. And so correction will always bring change. But I feel right now the masculines are in a portal of severity when it comes to destruction, and they're always going to keep being met with more resistance if that's the case. And so we're kind of in the energy of a transitionary stage. And I do feel there's a lot of linking when it comes to the Kundalini energy. And there's a very restless, curious energy surrounding the divine masculine. And I do feel they might feel like the divine feminine has high expectations. But I do feel in the end, the feminine really has no expectations. And so we're here to explore these new horizons. We're here to embrace the union of these soul contracts with sheer exhilaration. And so we're not meant to go the journey alone. And so right now, there's a lot of impersonal relational experiences kind of prodding at the divine masculine's awareness. And there is this hunger being activated when it comes to the depth of feeling, but they kind of got to overcome their conditioning. And so we're kind of in these emotional waves of exposure is what I feel is kind of happening here. And so the masculines are kind of focusing on all of their past painful experiences in order for them to learn from them, rather than repeating the same experiences. I don't want to say mistakes, because the same experiences, and we will keep repeating the same lessons and experiences over and over and over again until we master them. And so mastery needs to be turned into expressed wisdom, and that can manifest as giving people advice, right? And so our memories are being activated, our past life memories, our childhood memories are being activated in this 1111 portal. And so this is part of the experience itself when it comes to this remembrance. And so here in Canada, it is Remembrance Day, connected to the veterans. And so I do feel this really is seeing things at face value. And so the masculine can't really see what's on the other side of the mountain. And so the feminine needs to keep healthy. She needs to keep alert. She needs to keep aligned as the masculine enters into this experience of tapping into these higher dimensional forms. And so we have massive potential walking through this 1111 portal to transform humanity at large. And so this is an experience of seeking. It takes time to seek the truth. And I do feel there's been a careful consideration of the repercussions of the divine masculine's actions. And so we can't keep seeking emotional rushes in hopes of escaping the past pain or in hopes of escaping boredom. Especially if there's nothing new to dive into. And so a lot of the masculines will jump from relationship to relationship to relationship. And this is part of a fixed pattern that they need to overcome. And so understanding the fixed pattern is also a very sacred process. And so understanding the fixed pattern is a fundamental part of this attunement so we can get back into a natural spiritual rhythm in our lives. And so we're at the crossway of consciousness. We will persevere, but the masculine is kind of going down on a sinking ship. It's kind of what it felt like. And so they're going to need to find the courage to face adversity. And the feminine is going to have to hold her power to maintain her own rhythm as the masculine goes through this closing of a cycle. And so the masculine prematurely cut off the divine feminine, whether they were urged to cut their losses from a group of friends or whatnot. Now they're in this state of weakness and they are being challenged because the feminine, I feel, is reaching this place of inner peace, this alignment of inner peace. And so the masculine no longer has this ability to ignore the temptation of the pull towards the divine feminine. And so the gift of the feminine right now in this portal is to maintain composure, maintain alignment, maintain peace, maintain tranquility, maintain the power to just be in your own natural frequency, in your own natural rhythm. And this is triggering a lot of compulsive energies on the masculine's end. And so there's fear, I feel, coming up to be worked through, almost like a sense of helplessness surrounding the masculine. And this is triggering a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety. And this compulsiveness is really bringing forward a negative effect. And so it's kind of like the energy of fight or flight. And so the imagination, I feel, is running wild with a lot of the divine masculines through this process. And so it's feeling very stressful. It's feeling like they know they need to take action towards something here. And they also need to learn to surrender to these limitations of these fixed patterns in order to fully understand what true self-empowerment entails. And so we've got the moon energy going into the last super full moon of the year this Friday on the 15th. And so the moon energy is saying the masculine can no longer stand still. I was very much shown the energy of the Hierophant. The Hierophant is linked to Taurus energy. Something about this full moon conjunct Uranus, it's tightly conjunct Uranus, is asking the masculine to surrender these limitations. And if they are unable to surrender, they are going to be met with all kinds of odds and challenges, and they're going to have to find their determination to overcome these challenges. And so they've been waiting, and feeling like this is almost like their guarantee of survival, staying in a toxic fixed pattern. And as the feminine kind of moves on to this creative genius and this transformation energy, they can no longer be passive to this awakening experience with the divine feminine. And so the feminine's kind of going towards active achievement is what it felt like. The power to make the best of the situation and her own life and her own rhythm, regardless of external factors or external people, places, and things. And the masculine is really being shown the vanity of his personality, I feel, when it comes to his hiding behind a mask and his unwillingness to bend. And so I feel the masculine is feeling very threatened because they are so used to their survival patterns. And they've been in such a denial of this connection. And so joy really is what is on the other side of this portal, the joy of enlightenment. And so remain calm, divine feminine, remain calm, recognize the inner meaning of this connection, of the being of this connection, because your power is to remain calm and to keep your place in the flow. And so the masculine is realizing, oh boy, I dismissed the joy that the feminine brought into my life. I played into an illusion, and now he's just waiting for that failure to kind of come full circle. And so disillusionment was very strong surrounding the masculine. And so there's like a giving way to under pressure. And I kept hearing that song, Under Pressure. And so they've been very hard. They've been very rigid. They've succumbed to the lower energies, the lower ego. And so they're never going to break free from this pressure until they kind of go through this growth and this higher awareness. And so they can't keep bending to the universal flow. They're going to have to accept something here. So as the feminine kind of reaches growth and empowerment, and that energy of zero polarity or no polarity, there is going to be the detriment of the masculine giving way. And so if they are in a position of power, that power is going to be taken away, and that's going to be inevitable. And so right now, they can't keep waiting around, waiting, because waiting is not an active state. And so it's almost too like the feminine being pregnant, though, and waiting to give birth to this new cycle. And so divine feminine, all good things will come to those who wait. And I know for many of us, it's been a very long journey of waiting. And so the energy really is shifting. So the feminine gives way to this tenacity to stay true to her path, to her rhythm, to her ways of spirituality. And I do feel the feminine is kind of getting into a satisfactory routine with her life, and she's attuned to all of these higher dimensional vibrations. And now the masculine is kind of being forced to deviate from that fixed toxic pattern or cycle, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever that is. It's kind of destabilizing for them in this 11-11 portal, and they're kind of questioning their entire reality. They let others lure them away from the divine feminine, lure them away from the higher path. And so whether it be a friend or a lover, they got to understand this repetitive pattern. And so disruption is a part of breaking free from the temptation. But I do feel there's an overwhelming fear of abandonment as well below the surface. And so ultimately we're here to embrace and transcend all of these challenges, and the challenges will keep coming. And so I was further taken into the gateway of the Fool, and what I heard was God's grace. And so the gateway of change is also the gateway of openness, the gateway of taking that leap and understanding that God's grace will catch you. And so the quality of our behavior will really be a reflection of our external reality. And so there's a lot of emotions coming up. There's a lot of receptive emotions being transmitted. And a lot of the masculines have a second-class ticket on a first-class airplane. And so a lot of the masculines have social grace and social charm, which is very attractive. But there's a lack of emotional openness. And so I do feel there's a need to accept a subordinate position for a lot of the masculines. There's a lot of emotional awareness, and inevitably this is going to lead to some type of humiliation, right? A lot of the masculines want to claim that first class seat with a second class ticket, and they have to go into doing the deep dive of this emotional work, and they have to face these energy challenges, and the result really is humiliation socially, and then we can overcome that. A lot of us have to go through the humiliation aspect. That's part of the Christ conscious journey. And so a lot of the masculines mask their true nature through charm. A lot of them likely went to charm school, so to speak. But really, this is where the masculines kind of delude themselves. And so right now, the enchantress energy as well is coming through, because the feminine is in this state of perfected grace. And so she's really in that gravitational pull of the divine feminine enchantress. And so as the feminine takes this full form of the actualization of the divine feminine embodiment and is perfected through this openness, through this alignment of this emotional energy, it really is bringing the masculine to this unconscious grace and this innate openness and this very overly sensitive energy towards this connection. And so a lot of the feminines are mediums, we're psychic mediums, and the masculine has rejected that due to the fixed patterns, and they've been overly reliant on those fixed patterns, or whatever pattern it is that they are stuck in when it comes to a significant relationship cycle. And now they're facing all of these limitations. And so there's a redirection in this 1111 portal. And we all have to step into the power of these higher principles in order to successfully overcome these transgressing behaviors. And so a lot of the masculines are losing their reputation when it comes to whatever social interaction that they've been negatively involved in. And now it's kind of time to step into spiritual maturity. And so the alignment of this experience really is to allow us to overcome addictive tendencies, the lower ego. And so this alignment really is what is important when it comes to the expression of our truth and our openness. And so right now, the Fool energy, that's what it's asking for, is emotional openness. And I do feel right now a lot of the feminines are very highly attractive to others. And the masculine is, I feel, very moody in these energies. And so until they completely listen to their higher self, to the higher guides and what the higher guides are saying, they're going to have a hard time taking action towards the feminine, because I do feel the silence surrounding this connection is making the masculines very nervous. And what they fear most, I think, is probably losing their chance at union with the divine feminine. And so there's a big energy of oppression surrounding the divine masculine collective, a big energy of Seven of Cups, disillusionment. And this is going to bring forward a realization, right? So right now I feel the masculines are kind of in this waiting for the perfect moment. They're facing a lot of restrictive, adverse challenges as a state of needing to face their internal weaknesses by totally projecting that external strength. And so they are hoping to find some type of resolution, I feel. So they're kind of like taking stock. They're trying to make sense of it all right now. The Seven of Cups is very hard to make sense of things, right? And so I feel they're facing a lot of hardships. They're kind of being forced to eradicate these negative factors that have led to this oppression surrounding the masculines. And they're realizing that their negative thoughts also need to be eradicated, right? And so the delusion of seeing oppression as well was very loud. And so there's a lot of external phenomenon, I think, going around the masculine collective. And I think they have this underlying sense like they feel like the world is against them. And so there is a need to overcome this personal oppression. I know a lot of the feminines have overcome the personal oppression in order to achieve that higher sense of security. And so the mental health is a big thing as well when it comes to the disillusionment. And so this indecisiveness is really what keeps leading the masculine further down this personal state of oppression. And they're going to have to apply their higher intelligence to recover. They're just going to have to accept the weight of the burden, and maybe they've been taken advantage of in the past, but they're going to have to prevail. And so self-oppression really is this energy of staying stuck, is saying, all's well that ends well. And so the feminine is conscious, the feminine is well integrated, and brings this natural light into the collective. She shines the light on the oppression, and the masculine is realizing how he has kept himself in this state of self-oppression, I do feel. And so there's irreversible, destructive extremities going on around the masculine, which is making it very difficult for him to realize his self-worth. And so repression, oppression, repression too is also a state of constant contact. And so there really is this energy, I feel, of deep anxiety when it comes to overcoming this mental trip that they're on. It feels like a mental trip. It almost feels like the masculines have been robbed of their light. Feels like they're lost in the darkness right now, and they're barely able to nourish themselves, let alone you, divine feminine. And so they're overwhelmed by all of these external conditions, is what it felt like. And so the gift in times of oppression, though, is being able to maintain your balance without hypocrisy. And so I do feel the masculine's in a relationship with somebody that likes to oppress him, though, whether it be a mother, a work situation, a lover. and they've succumbed to that oppression. And so there's going to be a realization of what needs to take place in order to exalt themselves from this futile position that they are in. And so with the sun in Scorpio, it really is highlighting the detriment of where they've allowed themselves to be taken advantage of. And so they're kind of being stripped of everything right now in order for this realization of remembrance. And so it's almost like a disorganized collection of past life memories of like film clips going through the masculine's mind, passing through them, what's passed through their life, in order for them to find meaning again when it comes to this human experience. And so we can't really see the full picture until we sort through this whole collection of images, and that's part of the disillusionment. And so that's really what is going on here as part of this mental realization, I feel, with this 1111 portal. And so it takes time to let this process become easier. It doesn't have to be complicated if we lean into the mental sequences of making sense of all of this disillusionment. So basically the masculines, I feel, kind of need to take a step back and to trust that this cycle is closing, and they're going to get to that aha moment, maybe not until the full moon energy. But there's a lot of pressure surrounding the masculine. And so what I feel is they're feeling frustrated. They're frustrated with the traditional ways of doing things. They're questioning their own authority. They're questioning everything in their reality right now. They might feel tired. They might feel worn out. I think a lot of the masculines are ready to say F it all, because they've been through a lot. But I do feel they are almost at that finish line. Although I think they're ready to give up, they need to keep going, because I think a lot of the masculines are stuck in a frustrating situation. They're not really sure which direction to take. They're not feeling like the feminine is an option at this point in time, with all things considered, when it comes to the twin flame activation. And so it's like they're feeling trapped. They're feeling trapped in a situation where they really don't belong. They're exhausted from this fight of their life. We're in a spiritual war zone right now. And so they're not quite ready to give up, though, I feel. And so they're going to have to learn to think outside of the box. And I think with Pluto shifting into Aquarius next week, that's going to be very helpful. So what the masculines need to learn to accept and surrender to is to be okay with not having all of the answers. They're going to have to go within and find those answers within themselves. I think a lot of the masculines are starting to feel different. They're kind of at that in-between energy. They're at the threshold of their life being drastically changed forever. And they are being pulled out of these old traditions, these old fixed patterns, for change, right? And so rules are changing, beliefs are changing, breaking the rules, new beliefs and new rules are being instilled. And the masculine needs to face all of these lower thoughts of inadequacy, weakness. They're scared, I feel. They're still in this state of uncompromising when it comes to some fixed patterns. They're feeling helpless. I think they're feeling like the odds are against them, that this is unrealistic to go towards the feminine. They're unsure, they're overwhelmed, and they're tired. They're feeling scattered is what it felt like, maybe unable to focus their energy on just one thing. And the Fool energy just kind of reinforces this sense of confusion, I think, and this lack of direction. And so I think there's a lot of uncertainty about the path. And they are probably making a lot of impulsive decisions without considering the consequences in these energies. They might even be acting recklessly without a lot of forethought, which could lead to a lot of negative outcomes in these energies. And so the whole combination of these 1111 portal energies really is a huge need to take a step back, to evaluate priorities, and to focus on setting some clear goals. And so whether you're resonating as a divine masculine, or maybe this is a message for you, divine feminine, when it comes to connection to the inner DM, but really we can't be swayed by our emotions or our impulses. And so we kind of got to go within to seek that guidance from the trusted energy of our higher self in order to gain clarity and perspective. And so we got to be thoughtful with our approaches to our choices, and we have to be willing to move forward with confidence for our purpose. And so if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling unsure of what it is you really want in your life, if you're caught up in some seriously unrealistic daydreams, bring it back down to reality, snap out of it, get some clarity, because we can't keep living in la la land. That's not going to get us anywhere. And so right now I feel it is about taking risks. It is about embracing the unknown with zero expectations. And I do feel if you're being held back from doing what it is you really want to do, then you need to reevaluate. If you're scared, if you're hesitant to take a leap of faith, let me tell you, you will never get anywhere in life without taking some risks, right? In order to take a risk, it does ask you to live life to the fullest. And so we kind of got to live life to the fullest. We have to understand sometimes we do get stuck in a weird limbo, and we do have to deal with uncertainty and fear. But we do also need to realize that big dreams and big desires take big risks. And so scared, confused energy is always going to be there. You still got to go after what it is that you want, regardless of the fear, regardless of the confusion. And so if you find like you're living in some type of fantasy world, or you're too afraid to make any of that fantasy reality, then this is a warning. Snap out of it. Take some action. I feel the masculines are being forced into action. It's time to let go of unrealistic fantasies. It's time to start living in the real world. And so we kind of got to ground these higher etheric truths and energies. So take a deep breath, take that first step, no matter how small that first step is. And remember, this is a journey. The twin flame journey is a journey of likely 1,000 miles, but it starts with one single step, right? It starts with one leap, one step. And so I feel the masculines are in this portal gateway of being able to turn things around, but they do have to get real with themselves, and they do have to take a calculated risk. So let's go a little bit further with the cards. I'm going to go pick some decks, guys, and I will be right back. All right, let's jump in with the Heart's Hidden Secrets deck today. We're going to start off with this deck. Look at that. Bottom of the deck, we get Second Chance, which is speaking of reconciliation, making amends, a new opportunity to bring something together. But then we get the pain, and so the pain is what is really causing this fear, this cautious energy, and this apprehensiveness surrounding the masculine when it comes to taking a risk, taking a chance, and maybe bringing forward some type of offer. So let's dig into the Divine Masculine Collective first. Let's see what is the Heart's Hidden Secret connected to the Divine Masculine. We're going to dig all the way into the masculine, and then we will flip the scales, flip it and reverse it, and dig into the Divine Feminine. So messages for Divine Masculine Collective, please. Spying. So I feel a lot of the masculines are watching you, maybe watching your social networks. If you have a channel, watching your channel. They've watched you heal. They've watched you release and go through this purifying and cleansing process. And so a lot of the masculines can see that you have healed, and I think they are hoping that they can manifest some type of union or reunion, probably since around that Lion's Gate. Any other messages? So there is the word expecting on the hoping card, and so releasing expectations really is what is needed. They're needing to find the faith that this new beginning can be manifested, and so there's confliction, right? They're conflicted. They're conflicted about this new beginning. They're conflicted about trying again, starting over, or should I just head in a new direction? And so it's kind of like hot and cold, and maybe the masculines have multiple choices. And so they're going to have to make a decision. They're definitely feeling helpless. There's a little bit of infatuation here. There's a little bit of addictive, obsessive infatuation towards you, Divine Feminine. And I think they're kind of falling apart. I'm hearing that song. Is it Post Malone? Ooh, I fall apart. I don't know. Go check it out. I think it's Post Malone, and I think it's called Fall Apart. That's what I'm hearing. And so they kind of have to face the consequences of their past mistakes. They got to go through this purification. A lot of these masculines are very lost souls. They're in victim mentality. They're feeling very misunderstood. And they can no longer keep playing into these escapism tendencies. And so a lot of the masculines will block, push away, and avoid their emotions through alcohol or drug abuse. And a big part of the twin flame journey is to clean it up, right? And so we're here to clean away addictions. We're here to get sober, to be clean. And we can't avoid our emotions by escaping them. And so the addictions is what creates cloudy judgments. And so addictions will always create distorted illusions, right? Because you're not aligned in that purified energy. And so I do feel they're feeling the boundaries of the feminine, saying, I'm drawing a line in the sand. Enough is enough. I know my worth. I know my value. And I'm not going to deal with dishonest, elusive trickery anymore. And so the masculines, I feel, are in a web of their own making here. And they're gaining that new perspective. Maybe they're looking at the feminine as, hey, maybe she's better off without me. She looks happy. But I do feel the masculines are coming into some type of clear headspace. And so truth is coming forward. And I do feel their intentions need to be made clear. Honesty is a big thing. And so I think their biggest fear is being abandoned due to some type of past loss, grief, or sorrow connected to a family situation. Okay, let's dig into the Divine Feminine. Messages for the Divine Feminine, please. What needs to come through for the Divine Feminine? Where is the feminine at? I know for me, I'm feeling very aligned. I'm feeling very blissed out, just super excited about the future. I'm just having a good time with life. Everything is just feeling really, really good. Messages for Divine Feminine. All we got was ecstasy that came out. And the confusion card just flipped right out, right onto the masculine side again. And so this is where the feminine is at, I feel. Like barely anything wants to come out on the feminine side. Confusion also went flying out. And I'm going to take it with the masculine's energy because that's where it landed. And so the feminine is in this final farewell. I do feel this 11-11 portal for the feminine is the final goodbye. We're leaving behind the past. We're making peace. We're closing out that cycle. And we are going towards good times, new exciting energy. What's on the bottom of the deck? And we're going towards the beauty of who we are. And so the feminines really are getting grounded in their graceful charm, their kind-hearted beauty. And I do feel this is creating a longing. Like this is all the feminine wants, this deep longing for peace, balance, harmony. I know I said that the other day on the phone with another Divine Feminine. I think I'm just meant to build really solid, soulful friendships moving forward, the love of friendships. And so the feminine is releasing that craving, aching, wanting, longing feeling is really what it feels like. And so the letting go, the moving on and walking away is where the feminine's at. Whenever I see this card, I think of that Taylor Swift song, Prophecy, thought I caught lightning in a bottle. And so I feel the feminine's at a place where there's no sign of soulmates, and she's okay with that. She's releasing any expectations. She's releasing any craving, aching, or wanting of relationships, and she's bringing her life back into balance, which is then creating the breaking point of the karmic consequences playing out. And so this is creating the overwhelm, the final straw. And then the mirror is now flipped onto the masculine when it comes to these twin flame connections. And so there is a possibility for a return, this 11-11 portal, for a second chance in making amends. And I feel the masculines are just completely depleted, drained. It's been a very long journey, to say the least. So let's get some tarot cards. We get the Chariot reversed, and we get the Palace of Coins. And so that Palace of Lies, that financial foundation that the masculines have built, that false foundation, I feel is all crashing down. And there could be an emotional breakdown on the masculine side. So what else needs to come through for the Divine Masculine Collective with the Tarot of Dreams deck? That's the deck that I'm using, guys. We get the Star and the Two of Cups. So the masculine is in a death energy. The bottom of the deck, death with the Lovers. And so ultimately they do want to heal this connection. They do want this connection to be healed. And I do feel this Scorpio season is a huge possibility for the great return, I feel. And so the masculines are going through a major life force activation, Kundalini activation, and major possibilities for healing. Wow. We get Gemini. So feel with this Jupiter retrograde, it really is triggering the remembrance. And so the masculines really are shedding those energies. Look at that. Bottom of the deck, we get the Faith card or the Hierophant card on the Divine Feminine side. And so your wishes are being granted. Wish fulfillment is yours, Divine Feminine. You have healed from those abandonment cycles. You are ready and open to receiving a new beginning in love, whether that be with the counterpart or soulmate. And then we also got the Chariot upright with the 6 of coins. And so this is all about reciprocation and knowing your worth and not settling. The scales are being balanced in your favor. And so I do feel that denial of the pain on the heart, it's being unblocked. The masculine is deep within some heartbreak, feeling the loss. But this is the portal gateway for this union, 1111, the twin flame card, 1111, the 4 of wands. And so the portal gateway is wide open for healing. So I just want to say, like, drink from the freaking cup, divine masculine, drink from the cup. There's that oppression, there's that stuckness, and there's the breaking away from the stuckness. And so I think the masculine is laser focused on putting in the work. I do feel they're getting ready to walk away from whatever it is that they've been holding on to that's really prevented them from stepping into being a spiritual teacher. And so we get the teacher of the teacher cards out with the 7 of wands. That Pandora's box is wide open and they can't unsee the toxicities surrounding them. And so a lot of the masculines with this final home stretch, the final countdown with Pluto and Capricorn, this is where they're being asked to leave those toxic cycles behind. And so there is a realization of the past pain, the abandonment, the betrayal that they caused. And this is the gateway opportunity to walk through the doorway of creating new family traditions with the 10 of Pentacles. And so there's a struggle. 5s are changes. 5s are challenging energies. They're struggling because there's guilt, there's regret, there's shame, there's all of these outside opinions, and they're stuck in this old mental box that they've put themselves in this program belief, this fixed pattern. And all they got to do is shed their old ways, and they've got the ability to manifest a new beginning in love. But it's going to take a lot of work, it's going to take a lot of effort, and they're going to have to come and face the judgment of the divine feminine, and they're going to have to really think about this, right? So I think they have been thinking about this, that Virgo energy, and there's that unexpected tower. And so we're kind of at the gateway of this coming to Jesus moment. We're at that pivotal moment in time, that pivot point. So we're at the crossroads, and the masculine has a choice. They can choose the divine feminine, which is the truth, or they can choose money. Either way, they are deeply wounded when it comes to the separation, and they are definitely feeling the energy of the fall with the karmic feminine is what I'm feeling. So it's like the masks are off, guys. Let's get some twin flame oracle messages from my homemade twin flame deck. And so the answers that you are seeking are being brought forward. So trust right now, trust fall. I'm hearing that song, Trust Fall, from Pink at the moment. So what is the twin flame oracle message? And that went right down. Gender roles. Gender roles. So that's also an issue, right? The gender roles that we play. And so true partnership really is not just 50-50. Some days I'm going to put in 80 and somebody's going to have to put in 20, or vice versa, right? And so right now we're learning soul lessons connected to past life karma. So this 1111 portal is all about the Eros Gamos union, that twin flame soul merge. And so all of these challenges are related to old wounds surrounding past lives that we have shared together. And we kind of got to look for the silver lining. Trust. Trust. Listen to yourself. Listen to your soul's guidance. Divine feminine, pause. Take a break. Align with positivity. Replenish your reserves, because the masculine is still dealing with a karmic partner, or the residual effects of a karmic partner. And this is pushing us both to grow. So we are closing out all of these old cycles of soul contracts, past life soul contracts, past life lovers. And we got to go through this process. So shield yourself. Protect yourself from any negative energies, because we are being asked to embrace the healing miracle of this connection. We are asked to stop with the over-exaggeration of the bluffing, of the masking. We have to release the holding on. We have to release the obsessive spying as part of this connection. And divine feminine, you have to release that toxic pursuit. We can't be chasing after anything. It is the masculine's job to chase, not the feminine's job to chase. And so pull the masculine towards you. The final message, we get astral travel on the top of the deck. So I don't know about you, but nighttime journeys for me have been a lot of meetings in the 5D with the counterpart and with all kinds of past life soul connections. And so maybe that's the block. We have to do this clearing in astral 5D dimensional travel in order to clear the negativity within this connection. But there's definitely the twin flame recognition of knowing that, yes, this is your true twin soul. And that's kind of what I got, guys. That's the 1111 portal message. So I hope this helped. I hope this resonated. If you would like to book in with me for a personal reading, check out the description box below. I do hope to see you all again next time. Have a great 11/11 portal, guys, and I'll catch you on the other side.